Hey guys, we have to talk about Campi Flegrei in Italy again. Campi Flegrei, the Phlegraean fields in English, the burning fields. This is a supervolcano in Italy near Naples. Naples is basically located between two bad guys, Vesuvius, that is rumbling as well. Check out my video about that one. It's in the end screen. And Campi Flegrei. Campi Flegrei spreads out over 100 kilometers. That's why it's Phlegraean fields. It's not one crater volcano. It's like everywhere, and people are basically living right on top of it. But it also stretches into the sea, which makes it especially dangerous, because if there's an eruption inside the water coming from inside the sea, magma mixes with water and it's going to be explosive. So the experts are saying, guys, and listen to this could produce a tsunami that is 100 feet high, like 30 meters high, and that will reach the coast of Naples, a region with more than 3 million people. And this supervolcano, if it has a full supervolcanic eruption, this is going to be devastating. This can cause a little ice age, food shortages all over the world. This will impact not only Italy and the neighboring countries. This will be really, really bad, guys. And so it's been rumbling there, and the authorities are more and more concerned. So they have started evacuation procedures, rehearsals and stuff like this. But everyone understands you cannot evacuate more than 3 million people in time. And maybe you have seen my video about Vesuvius. In the direct proximity around the Vesuvius crater, there's 700,000 people. And if Vesuvius has a big eruption, there's no chance of survival. And the problem is the science is not far enough to give a good prediction of when this is going to happen. They can say, oh, let's evacuate now because in 10 days there will be an eruption. No, this usually comes by surprise with little warning time, not enough time. So we have another earthquake swarm on Campi Flegrei, with the largest quake that is significant at 3.2 magnitude. And don't mix up volcanic quakes with subduction zone quakes, like at the Pacific west coast of the United States and Canada, the Cascadia earthquake that could produce a magnitude 9 or 10, or other magnitude like 6 or 7 earthquakes. No, with volcanoes, if magma's rising up, usually you have cluster swarms in the microseismic area. And so anything above 2 is already like significant. That tells us something is on the way. So 3.2 above 3, again, we already had above 4. So there were a few quiet days at Campi Flegrei where there were not too many earthquakes recorded, and there was not a real cluster swarm of earthquakes. But yesterday, again, a massive earthquake swarm began underneath the Campi Flegrei caldera in southern Italy. So at least 160 earthquakes were recorded, and the strongest had a magnitude of 3.2. So in 24 hours, more than 160 earthquakes, more than usually on a daily basis in the last weeks. So way more per day. So that 3.2 magnitude earthquake had its center at a depth of about 1.6 kilometers only. So the source of the earthquake was in the area of the hydrothermal system, but, and here comes the but, the magnitude of that quake suggests that it was associated with rock fracturing, and it was not just triggered by fluid movements in the subsurface. Although, of course, rising fluids would have been the driving force behind the rock fracturing process. So what is going on there? Let's have a quick deeper look so that you understand about the hydrothermal system, because that is essential for that caldera volcano, guys, so that you understand it's different, a little bit different from what we've been watching on a regular basis, what's going on in Iceland right now. The hydrothermal system of Campi Flegrei is a geothermal system located in this large volcanic caldera that's near Naples and the port town of Pozzuoli. So this system consists of a complex network of underground reservoirs and pathways through which water and gases can interact with each other. And of course, there's heat generated by volcanic activity. So some key characteristics of this hydrothermal system are the geothermal reservoirs. And you can see steam rising from that caldera in the solfatara and fumaroles, like steam clouds, hot steam coming up there, sulfur. So the geothermal reservoirs are part of this caldera, and they contain hot mineral-rich fluids that are heated up by the magma that is there, by the magma of this volcanic system. And of course, there's also hot rocks beneath the surface. And then there's the hydrothermal activity. So this results in several surface expressions where, like I just said, the fumaroles and the steam vents that are coming out, but also like hot springs and bubbling mud pools that are splashing the mud, the hot mud around. And fumaroles and solfataras. What exactly is this? Sounds interesting, right? These are gases such as carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and they are emitted from these fumaroles, these little steam vents. And the Solfatara crater is particularly famous for its intense fumarole activity. So that's the crater you see here. That's the one where tourists can go if there's no toxic gases in the air. They can look at these fumaroles. And of course, this volcanic activity, like it does in Iceland, comes with ground deformation. So the hydrothermal and magmatic activity, they have caused significant land rise, an uplift of the surface in the caldera, and that phenomenon is called bradyseism. So that affects land. It's rising and it's subsiding. It's rising, it's subsiding. That has especially affected the little port town of Pozzuoli and the port when the land was rising there. So the port was becoming very, very shallow. So this is not good. And the more it's rising and subsiding, the more brittle the crust at the surface gets, and the higher the risk that magma might make its way through. Because magma always takes the path of least resistant. And if the rock is brittle and if the surface is not that tight anymore, it's easier. And especially the bradyseism, these land rises and subsiding, they're especially monitoring these deformations. They're kind of occurring in a cycle because they can give them a forecasting of a potential eruption. There's not many things or data that they could collect to be able to make a forecast, but still, it's not precise at all. And then the system is interacting with groundwater. So groundwater is mixing with these volcanic gases, and then it leads to the formation of acidic mineral-laden fluids underground. And these fluids contribute to these surface hydrothermal features, these steam vents that we're seeing, like the fumaroles and the hot springs. And of course, there are a lot of hazards with a system like this. It's unstable, and it can pose a threat to this surrounding population due to the potential for phreatic eruptions. These are steam-driven eruptions that are highly explosive and are spewing a lot of particles very high up in the air, very, very fast. You cannot outrun an eruption like this. And of course, changes in the ground deformation may be a signal for increased volcanic activity, and we have that going on right now as well. So this earthquake swarm, especially with the big one, was happening during the night, but definitely the authorities have received several reports that people felt these earthquakes, so they were shaken by these earthquakes. One even from the Sorrento area, which is further away, basically on the south side of the Bay of Naples. But if you look at that earthquake map, you can see that These earthquakes, this earthquake swarm is spreading out over a significant large area. And that is an indication that the ground uplift, the rising of the land, has accelerated again because there's so many earthquakes that are in this area spread out. And whenever land is rising, something underneath wants to come up. And that's why it's so concerning. So of this earthquake swarm, there were 4 other quakes that had a magnitude in the 2 range, with the strongest magnitude 2.9, so almost 3. What is also very interesting were the epicenters of these quakes were located. Because the stronger earthquakes, they were basically grouped in one area. And that is the outer eastern flank of this Solfatara crater here. So the 2 earthquakes that had magnitude 3.2 and 2.9 were occurring near the Pisciarelli Fumarole, where we already have that steam coming out, where there is some vents, some tunnels that let these gases come to the surface. So will there be more that's coming to the surface because of these earthquakes? Because this is the area with the strongest geothermal occurrences in the whole Solfatara. So one might think, if we see an eruption, this could be the spot where it first comes out. So we already had a very, very strong land rise, a ground uplift in April this year. And the gas temperature in the main Fumarole briefly rose to 96 degrees Celsius. Last week, then it has dropped down a little bit to 94 degrees Celsius, but that is still very, very high. And where are they measuring that temperature? So in the Fumarole, it's probably a lot higher. So they're measuring this temperature at a gas stream that is that has a distance of 5 meters from the opening of the Fumarole. So it's way hotter in there. So what is happening in the media in Italy? So there are growing concerns, not only among reporters and media, also authorities and also scientists that were very careful with their opinions for quite a while. So now there's more and more reports that Italian geoscientists are becoming supporters of the theory that a magma body, that magma is accumulating at only a depth of 4 kilometers, so very shallow underneath the surface, comparable with Iceland. There we have it at the same depth underneath that tourist attraction, the Blue Lagoon, where people are taking a relaxing swim and spa day. So let's just imagine if there was a larger crack that would open in the caldera, then the rising of the magma underneath would happen very, very quickly, because it only has to go 4 kilometers. That is not far. If there's a lot of pressure and this is shooting up, it doesn't take long. And then, of course, if the magma reaches the surface, a volcanic eruption is following. And there's maybe half an hour warning time, maybe even less. So what about all the people? I guess you know the answer, guys. So this is why this is so concerning. You know, we in Iceland, they evacuated the town of Rindavik with roughly 4,000 people. But here we're talking millions. So if we had such a volcanic eruption, it could definitely be compared with the Monte Nuovo eruption. And I know, now you will ask me, what is the Monte Nuovo? That means new mountain. What is that eruption? When did that happen? It was an actual eruption of the Campi Flegrei, and that happened in 1538 near Naples, Italy, and within these Phlegraean fields. The eruption has created a new volcanic cone, and they called it Monte Nuovo, new mountain, because it was all of a sudden after the eruption, oopsie, it was there. So it stands out about 130 meters high, and it has a diameter of roughly 1,500 meters, so a little more than a mile. The eruption lasted several days from September 29th to October 6th in 1538. And it was the first eruption that was documented in the Campi Flegrei area since the ancient Roman times. And it was extensively documented because it was so close to Naples. Of course, there were many people and there were many documentations about it. So prior to this eruption, the area has experienced seismic activity and a significant ground deformation and uplift of the ground, which has displaced local residents, of course. So once there is an eruption, the ground subsides again, because the magma is emptying out. The magma chamber is getting empty. So that eruption was basically only retromagmatic. That means it involved the interaction between magma and groundwater. So magma and water, always explosive. So that's why there was an explosive, steam-driven activity. It created large ash plumes that this thing did shoot out up in the air, pyroclastic flows, hot ashes, stones, volcanic material was thrown out there. A significant ejection of volcanic material that has built this Monte Nuovo. So with this eruption, there was only one confirmed fatality at that time, but the eruption destroyed the nearby village of Supervolcano and significantly altered the landscape. So the local population was forced to evacuate and the ashfall affected the surrounding towns. What is the geological significance of this? Although it was like not a super volcanic eruption, but it was something that Campi Flegrei did so that we at least have some record of what it does. So Monte Nuovo is the youngest volcanic feature in this Campi Flegrei area, and it remains a prominent symbol of the volcanic hazards that are present in this region. So this eruption back in the days has marked a new phase of volcanic activity and has helped to give us an insight in the dynamic and potentially dangerous nature of the Campi Flegrei caldera. Because although this was a small one, you might be able to get an imagination what would happen if there was a super volcanic eruption. What is Monte Nuovo today? It is a protected nature reserve, and it offers a window for visitors into the volcanic activity of the past, but also for researchers. And these current earthquakes that we're seeing, all these earthquake swarms again, also the concerns are growing about the damages that these reoccurring earthquakes are doing to the buildings in the area. So there are media reports that a well-known soccer club is planning to build a soccer stadium in the red zone of Campi Flegrei, which is completely insane. In my opinion, they should not build more, they should build less. We know at Vesuvius in the red zone, the government has given out incentives saying we give you 30,000 euros if you move away, if you move out of the red zone. But there were not many people who took that deal because, of course, you won't find a buyer for your property in the red zone, and then you have to move out with 30,000 euros. That doesn't buy you anything, not even a garage or maybe a storage unit, but maybe not even that. So people don't do this, right? Of course, the authorities then, this soccer club, have told them not to do this, right? And then also in the little village of Baccioli, there was a meeting yesterday and they were discussing how they could protect people that are walking around in the roads, how they could protect them from falling plaster fragments or like roof particles, because these old towns and villages there, the homes are very narrow together. There's small little trails, the streets are narrow, so if something's coming down, falling, it will hit people that are walking around on the street, even cars. But for an evacuation, if there is an earthquake swarm and let's say it was possible to use those narrow roads for evacuation. Collapsing buildings is a concern because these buildings are ancient, they're old, they are not up to earthquake, they will collapse, they are not up to codes, and they will block the roads, make it even more difficult to get out. There's no big 6-lane highways going out of these areas. It's narrow, winding roads that will clog completely when people are in panic and are trying to get out. And always when they have these earthquakes there are damages to the outside plaster and the homes. So right now parents are raising their concerns. They're worried about their children, the safety of the children, because the children walk to school mostly. And then of course they're talking about having the schools closed during these earthquake swarms. I mean, these are all things that they need to consider, but you know, they also have to see the bigger picture, and that is a problem, right? I mean, up until a few decades ago, the 2000s, people only thought that Vesuvius is the bad guy. They weren't even so aware of the Campi Flegrei issue. And I mean, if you look at these Google Earth pictures, I mean, they're settling right around the caldera, right in this area. So it's crazy, right? People are poor in this area, also in Naples. So it's not that they can say, because many of you in the comments are saying, well, get out there. Where would they go if you don't have any money, if you don't have a buyer for your home? If you're not rich, you can't leave. These homes have been passed on for generations. People are stuck there. And that's why Campi Flegrei is a supervolcano that we need to monitor way more closely than other volcanoes that are not in such densely populated areas, because if they erupt, it might be a spectacle of nature, and yes, ash cloud might affect us and everything, but if this thing, Vesuvius or Campi Flegrei, has a large eruption, it'll be devastating, absolutely devastating. So guys, check out my videos about this with way more information. Check out the one here in the end screen about Vesuvius, because I bet there's things you did not know about this guy. So if you're going on vacation to beautiful Italy with the stunning food, just keep that in mind and inform yourself. So thanks guys. Check out my latest video about Iceland. It's rumbling there as well. We have an earthquake swarm there as well. Plus a super unique situation that the magma chamber that's underneath there is fuller than it ever has been before when it triggered events. So something is going to happen there any second with probably no warning. Check it out, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And if you can, leave this video a like. It helps my channel a lot, I would say, helps this algorithm to push out my video a little bit more. So thanks guys. I'm going to take my doggies for a walk and have another coffee, and then I see you later. Bye bye.